Hello everyone, I'm Tracy and welcome to our first webinar of Smart City Education Insight series, and thanks for your participation today, and it's great to be speaking with all of you. And the first episode of Smart City Education Insight series is Taiwan Vietnam Industrial Cooperation Forums. And as you know, Taiwan and Vietnam have established a strong industrial, economic, and cultural relationship for so many years. So to expand the depth and benefits of exchange, we host 2020 Taiwan-Vietnam Industrial Cooperation Forums to connect talents and industry between two countries. And today we will discuss the impact of COVID-19 on education. And our panel experts will share their knowledge and expertise in the first 20 minutes in two rounds of questions. So if you have any questions, please write down your questions on the chat box. I will bring them to our panelists in the final 10 minutes in Q&A sections. So now let's begin. Now I would like to introduce our guest today. First of all, please welcome our moderator, Dr. Tsai Yi Chang from Institute for Information Industries.
Hello,
and
everyone.
From Vietnam side, please welcome Mr. Hoàng Anh Đức from Vietnam. He's a Lab Asia founder. And second one, please welcome Mr. Kim Ngọc Minh from Vietnam. He's a CEO of Topi Vietnam, an AI-powered adaptive learning system. And from Taiwan side, please welcome Mr. Wang Chongshi. He's the president of Intelligent Learning Industry Alliance Taiwan. And last but not least, please welcome Mr. Kang Yong Hua. He's the general manager of Sunnet Technology Corporation Limited. And it's our honor to have 5 experts here with us today. And now I would like to leave my mic to moderator Tsai to continue our webinar. So please welcome Dr. Tsai.
Thank you, Tracy. I appreciate the introduction. It's great to be speaking with all of you today, especially by online. Yeah. We all know that the current health crisis that societies are facing with the coronavirus pandemic has had such a large impact on the global cooperation and education system. I know a lot of countries, the students now still cannot be to school, only can learn online. So thousands of education institutes, campuses have been locked down around the world. The COVID-19 has impacted too deeply all education levels, no matter from primary, secondary, and tertiary, that the long-term consequences of this pandemic in education and economic terms are still unknown. Indeed, experts from different countries and backgrounds, as our today's guests, are discussing the possible outcome and solution of this crisis. World communities agree that one fundamental principle in this crisis is strong international cooperation is mandatory in the turbulent moment to have very strong international tie. As the one built between Taiwan and Vietnam, mutual cooperation is going to play an important role to overcome this difficult moment. So today, we will explore with those great educators, experts, and professionals the global education insight and future of EduTech after the pandemic. Without any future, I'd like to start the first question with our panelists. Question for Mr. Duke and Mr. Min. From your perspective, what is the biggest challenge in Vietnam during this pandemic? So, Duke, could you give us your opinion?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Tsai, for your warmly introduction and the first question, and good afternoon, everybody. So, firstly, I think that we have to admit that the challenges we face the first time due to COVID-19 with lack of similar experience is very difficult in every country, no matter Asian country or Western country. We both face the same very difficult challenges. And from my perspective, I think that we have the difficulties in terms of psychological and behavioral issues in all of the daily activities, and especially with the technology-related activities. Uh, from my side, I see that most of the school in Vietnam, during their first wave of COVID-19, we have the school closure across the country. But mostly we adopted the emergency teaching, which we use a lot of anti-solution. But in overall, the approaches is not the online learning yet. It's just emergency learning in which we use a lot of technology to deliver the content. But in terms of pedagogy, in terms of efficiency, and in terms of effectiveness, I think that we cannot consider it as a fully online learning, but it's emergency learning. So it's a very difficult time, it's a turbulent time when our normal routine and normal models of operation is not going to work anymore. Uh, so I think the first thing we have to admit is that we have to face the behavioral change, no matter it's in terms of content, in terms of teaching and learning, or in terms of technology. But behavioral change is the most important thing, and it's very important for all school leaders to ensure that all teachers and all students in the school, they can feel the psychological safety while they still learning from home. Uh, in terms of both psychological safety, in terms of both their concern and worry about the COVID pandemic, and in terms of their worry about their own learning. So the student, they should not have to worry about that. I'm doing online learning, so my progress will be slower than the other student or not. And the teacher, they should not be worried about teaching online, so the progress of my school is slower or is not as good as the other school. So they should not be concerned of any of those psychological issues. And I think it's the most important thing and the most difficult thing we should have them to remove. So as long as we can apply the proper education technology on proper teaching and learning, I think those kind of psychological concern can be removed easily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jeff. I think at least now we solve the first step that material can transmit between from teacher's home to student home. But when we talk about does it work, does student would like to learn more, I think it's a more big challenge. So Mr. Min, could you give us some your observation?
Thank you, Mr. Chais, for your introduction. And from my point of view, I see that in terms of the big picture in Vietnam, right now we have 841 cases of the COVID, and in that case, the government have many of the strong actions to keep the number is very low, because when the number increasing high, so then the capacity of the hospital and the human resource is very serious problem. So that's why we try to keep that number very low, as as low as possible. Yeah, I agree with the point a few from Mr. Đức in terms of the pedagogy, but in terms of the how to say, the business, I think right now the private education in Vietnam, they meet very hardship right now, very difficulty, because the private education is the English center, and also the private kindergartens, and the private primary school, secondary school. They have to rent the the house and facilities, very high price, and they have to close. So that's the serious thing right now, and many of them have to have to close, and many of the teachers from the private education right now meet difficulties in their life. So I think in the big picture, not only in terms of the pedagogy as Mr. Duc mentioned, we also see the circumstance, the harsh circumstance for the private education here in Vietnam, and we also would like to hear from Taiwan.
Thank you, Mr. Min.
Yeah.
I think our panelists from Duc and Min, we can know two perspectives. One is from technology and e-learning service model. We know we need more efficiency, productivity. But from the economic view, a lot of physical classroom campus may be closed because students cannot be there. So it's really, really difficult for development, especially in private sector. Now, we'd like to invite our guest, Mr. Wang and Mr. Kang. Can you share with us the situation in Taiwan during this pandemic? So, Wang.
Hello. In Taiwan, the epidemic prevention is successful. So COVID-19 did not break out in Taiwan. Life here has not been greatly affected. However, the school start and the summer vacation a little bit late. And due to this breakout, it has affected the time of university entrance examination, because I teach high school student chemistry. So I noticed about this. So just the entrance examination a little bit late, but normal life, we don't change too much. To the public area, including MRT or bus or train or restaurant or library and so on, people have been advised to wear mask and have test their body temperature. Like this afternoon, I go to one building and then transfer to another building. I test my body temperature and I got this. Yeah, so to prove my body temperature is okay. So people here washing our hands and using maybe use water and or maybe use hand sanitizer by alcohol, which is also very important for our daily life. In school, teachers must start practicing on how to use teaching online. The Taiwanese government also prepared a complete online curriculums for primary and secondary school. Fortunately, COVID-19 in Taiwan is not very serious. So therefore, this online learning class is just there to help, but not to completely replace the class formationed. Students still go to school to study, as in many countries. We have to self-quarantine or mandatory quarantine if we have traveled to other country or we close to the bio career. So during this period, I stayed at Taiwan. I think daily life or my teaching life are normal. So we don't change too much in Taiwan. That's my opinion.
Thank you, Mr. Wang. Mr. Wang always teaching in classroom. So I think he always see a lot of students with mask, so cannot know how they are feeling from our traditional teaching, because our traditional teaching always can feel our feedback from the face of student. But now most of students covered by mask, so maybe it's a new challenge.
Yeah. I can see their face and their smile during class whenever I teach them. But now I can see nothing.
Yeah.
So maybe I think a student don't like me.
You see the eyes. Yeah.
Yeah, only eyes.
Yes, yeah.
Eyes, but eyes too small. especially we always have crisis. Yeah. Okay, now we invite Mr. Kang can show us the situation in Taiwan, especially in your business area. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Tsai. Yeah, I'm great to take this opportunity to share some education situation in Taiwan. Let us go back to the January and February this year. Yeah, when everybody faced these sudden changes, government and schools naturally use online learning as a direct solution for students not being able to attend the classes at school. And they have a slogan. I remember it is stop classes without stopping learning. Or somebody say when the school has stopped classes, but students do not stop studies. So many education bureau in all cities require SOP, standard operation process during pandemic and conduct online learning. I think in order to provide those who students cannot attend the classes at school. I think that's the very beginning of the pandemic in Taiwan, and then a lot of use of virtual classroom platform in Taiwan. I mean, just like right now we use the one we use. We have some named platform like virtual classroom that's made by a Taiwanese company, and some schools use Teams by Microsoft, some schools use Hangouts by Google, etc. And many parents, I think they are cautious but not in panic, even when their kids' school is suspended. But however, parents and schools and students face many difficulties and challenges to use e-learning. Although we have promoted e-learning for 20 years, more than 20 years, but this year, everyone should use it. So a lot of difficulties and challenges come out, but gradually the government, invest more in those equipments, and although parents, overcome some, face some problems like the home environment, home class environment, so they have to increase their internet speed and the computer and the webcam and microphone equipment. So I think those obstacles or so-called barrier has been overcome. So the online learning has been go to a new stage this year, and I think it's never been so popular in K-12, because those days they say the kid is too young to use it. So parents or the teachers must accompany with them. But at this time now, I think a lot of kids, they use to practice, they use virtual classroom to practice their English capability online. So without the parents accompany or without their teachers in school, they only they face the computer and they talk to the teachers online. So the COVID-19 becomes a very contributor to digital learning or digital transformation. So I wanted to share more information about the MOE, Ministry of Education effort. What they have done, the Ministry of Education, they implement education cloud many years ago, but this time, it has been used so frequently. The bandwidth has been expanded 5 times than ever. So there are learning resources and some learning media like YouTube, education YouTube in education cloud. We also, contribute to implement those systems for our Ministry of Education. So in the beginning, I mean, in February, March, teachers and students are also comfortable in this kind of learning because teachers have to prepare lessons again, record online teaching content, and adjust their teaching methods and how to interact with teachers, with other teachers and students. You know, it was the biggest challenge for teachers and students, but now is managed. They get used to it. So I think in old time they said when students wanted to have class online, they should maintain a high degree of self-control and self-management in a solitary environment with teachers and classmates. So right now will be a brand new learning pattern. I guess watershed moment, 分水岭 watershed moment, maybe a good way to describe this time. This pandemic has contributed to the developing of digital education. So that's my share. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Kang. Very detailed, and especially talk about some new business. Yeah, but we hope that the business can feedback to industry. Since the beginning of this global health crisis, human being behavior has completely changed. The spread of this virus has panicked students, government, and education service providers. The COVID-19 pandemic has weakened the education sector all over the world. Institutions are facing significant financial loss. Now, the educational industry is forcing to change the strategy, respond appropriately to the sequence of the pandemic. So, and more question for Mr. Duke and Mr. Min. In your opinion, how is the education industry changing in response to the pandemic? Duke, please.
Yes, thank you for your question, Mr. Tsai. I think that in overall, the whole education sector in every country, not only Taiwan or Vietnam, we're trying our best to deal with the pandemic. We're changing faster and we're changing more often. And in education, regardless as we are a school, we are a university, we are an NGO or a business, a solution provider, we all make sure that we need to make sure that our belief on education, our vision and missions on education do not change as a consequence of the pandemic. And what we should change is our motivation to work under this difficulty circumstance. And what we must change is the mode of operations. During this time, I think that in both countries we both experience a very new lesson is that the involvement of parents into the teaching and learning activities. In the regular context, it's very difficult to increase the parent involvement in the education activities. But now, we do not ask them, but the COVID pandemic asked the parent involved in the teaching and learning. So on the same time, we have more pros and cons as a consequence of their involvement. We have more people to take care of the student, but also we have more pressure. And what the school and what the technologies can have here is, I think that is an easier way of implementing blended learning, in which so many materials, so many lessons can be delivered before the sessions of student and teachers. So the parent can help in learning together with their kids before the actual lesson start. And during the lesson, the teacher just focus on supporting the student rather than just delivering the content. And very important issue is about the professional development activities for the teachers. We switch to the online mode, but we keep student and parent engagement at a high level is very difficult. But also for our teachers, I observe most of the teachers in Vietnam, the teacher at various stage of their career, both senior teachers and junior teachers. The majority of them were not trained in online teachings. Some of them, they might have experience being a student in online teachings, but nearly all of them are not concerned for the start of this school year. Nobody have think that we will start a new school year in an online teaching mode. So besides implementing the new technologies, I think that one kind of very important criteria we should be aware of is the professional development for the teachers, as well as the involvement of the parents. So during the past time, I think that every country, we did a great job of moving from 0 to 1. So in which the concern of online learning, online teachings was a kind of a nightmare. Before, we never think that we will do online teaching a day. But now we do online teaching and every people talk about online teaching. I think it's a great move, and it's a very good foundation for the further step in the future. But now the difficult is how will we move from 1 to 100? Because currently we can see that there's a lot of 3 hours of lesson in which the student just stay in front of the camera. And I do not think that is a lesson. It's not much different with a zombie. It's a zombie learning, it's not a student. So we will have a lot of difficulty in the future. But I think now we have the good foundation for the futures. So all the country, all the education sector, all the stakeholder has been educated about what is online learning and what should we do for online learning. So when we talk about a new initiative about online learning, we might have more contribution and might have more influence from every pupil, less constraints than before. So in some manners, we should say thanks to COVID-19 for this perspective, even though it's not a fruitful thanks to the COVID-19, but in somehow we get benefit from the COVID-19 because we shift our mind into the new way of behavior.
Thank you, Mr. I think before we talk about digital divide, yeah, now maybe the digital divide, not only student, but also teacher. Yeah. Thank you. So how about your opinion, Mr. Min?
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Dick stressed the point that 3 hours before screen and camera is terrible for the student. Yeah, I agree, and especially with the primary student. So I think it's a new thing for all of the countries, not only Vietnam, Taiwan, but also US, UK, because I heard and I see in the news many parents said that, oh, my daughter and my son cannot be in front of the camera and screen in the morning and in the afternoon. Well, it's very harmful for the health. And the point, I think the challenge to educators all over the world is how to design the education setting and school setting and class setting based on the online not only the subject like mathematics, literature, but also for physical or the artist or the artistic or many other things and many other subjects. So I think it's very new in terms of the education, in terms of the methodology, and that's why I think it's a job that we educators and business and all people in all countries have to contribute together and sharing the knowledge and sharing the new model together to learn from the new thing in the world. That's my opinion. Yeah.
Thank you, Min. I think we know not only we can see you from internet, but we need to bring or design the new learning model, no matter for student or for teacher or for school principal. Now, I would like to take the discussion into the next level of the second round of questions. Remember, if you have any question during the presentation, please type them into the question box. I'll bring them up in the last 15 minutes of the presentation for the discussion part. Okay, now even through the pandemic had affected all countries seriously, Taiwan and Vietnam are some of the countries that has managed the impact of COVID-19 effectively. Control measures that involve ICTs and smart city have played a key role in both territories. So now I have question for Mr. Kim and Min, Mr. Wang. What are the key elements of Taiwan and Vietnam's success with this pandemic? Has ICT played a fundamental role to contain the virus? Mr. Wang, could you give us some your observation?
I think the important elements of Taiwan's success is in the epidemic prevention can be separated to two parts. The first part being our inherent advantage, such as we have a rather perfect health insurance system in Taiwan, and our advantage medical technology, and the boarding control policy. So as you know, Taiwan is an island. Island countries are easier to isolate the foreigners. So we can keep away from the virus better than other countries. And the second, I think everybody can remember in 2003, we had SARS in Taiwan. So Taiwan people also kept in mind the experiences of SARS from 2003. Therefore, we are witnessing high number of police citizens who work with government regulation, such as we wash our hands frequently, and we are willing to wear mask. And secondly, that Taiwan has had the fastest responding government centers. So I think the successful also, no doubt, ICT plays an important role. We have advanced community prevention measures, and according to a large data analysis, we can be a great control and the resource allocation. So we also have a sales broadcaster, we call it CB. We can send a message to multiple mobile phone from the same place at the same time. So we can let everybody know now it's an emergency time, or now it's okay. So trustly, we have very properly prepared in Taiwan. That's my opinion.
Thank you, Mr. Wang. And Mr. Min, I know now you are the last day stay at home. So can you share your opinions? Has ICT played a very important role in this pandemic?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. I have the similar view of most of you here, because you know, here right now in the pandemic, I think in terms of ICT, you know, at least they contribute the, how say, the flow of information is very important. So whatever the information to contribute for the against the pandemics, and also to sharing the way to, you know, improve the education and improve the technology. So it's for example, you know, the telecom, or you know, the telco, the telco, they, you know, and also many of the cable TV in Vietnam, they have they stop, you know, rising high. Yeah, because of yeah, you know, the needs is rising high also, and they can contribute in terms of the, you know, information flow, and in terms of the, you know, the support to education. So we will have to, you know, find the way and the methodology you know, in pedagogy view, and also in the technology view, and in that way we combine together. In that way, I think ICT, you know, contribute very important role in this, you know, it's so-called living with pandemics. It's not because the pandemic will could, you know, last for, you know, not only 1 year but 2 years or 3 years.
Yes, thank you, Min. And as I know, I saw a lot of information, no matter from Vietnam or even USA. Now, some students learning from home, but we know maybe they fear they receive a low quality education because maybe it's a cheaper way to access education. So thousands of enrolled students are not willing to pay the same amount of money for online education. Yes. So now I have a very interesting question. Would like to ask Mr. Kang and Mr. Duke, what are the solutions for industry education sector for online and offline learning, especially in this pandemic? Yeah. So Mr. Kang, could you?
Use 2 words to describe the solution, and the first word is called expansion, and the second is creation. Yeah. So take my one of my clients as example, that the pandemic has changed the way students live and learn. So the university, you know, in March and April has closed their campus and moved classes online. So like Zhongyuan University, I think you know the university very well too. Originally, they have 6 servers, but during that the period, they expand to 20 servers to serve their students and teachers. And so at that time, every student and the teacher should attend or should use the online learning. So it is already there, but this time the users has been expanded. So the solution just only expand the volume. So that's first word. I think the technology is already there. So just let the people use it. And the second is creation. I think college and universities across the world are getting creative with online options to keep students safe and healthy at home. That also held, and there's some information for faculty and students who may be new to virtual teaching and learning, like MOOC, MOOC, Massive Open Online Course, or some platform for teachers to create of a digital learning interaction. And another one is to take most advantage of social media like Nine. So they integrate the learning management system with Line, with Facebook, and YouTube. The application like integration of Line is that because people, students and teachers get use the Line, so the teachers can write the message to done with the LMS, and then it can send all the classes to all his students in different classes at a time. So it saved the teachers a lot of time, and the teacher can also get response from the Nine, the social media message. So it is another new application. I think to assist teachers in the professional development of online learning and update them with teaching methods and teaching evaluation are also important. So this time we find that the pandemic has accelerated a trend, a rise of digital contents. You know, the physical textbook are still preferred format for students, but I think right now they don't want to rely on a physical textbook. They want a digital textbook. So it is a new need in this period. So there are some digital content authoring tool come to the market. Yeah, and to make the content so easier than ever for teachers. And another one is learning management system. So the learning management system can adopt a lot of social media because students and teachers get used to it. Another one is, I think, talking about the professional development for teachers. So the Ministry of Education, MOE, also implement a teacher training platform for teachers. And it is important that the learning can continue. So the teacher can use it continuous is a critical point. Practice is and the learning resource for teachers can be another new solutions for teachers. So I think the transition from classroom teaching to online teaching is not an easy task. They will miss it. There will be a combination with classroom teaching and online teaching. Therefore, we always develop new solutions for teachers and students. So I think the school will not stop, although they stop classes, but not stop provide studying for students. Thank you. Because of technology.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Khan. Now, Mr. Duke, could you share your opinion and observation for this topic?
Yes, many thanks, Mr. Kang, for your sharing on the expansion equation. And I very agree with you on the way you talk about the sustainable way we implement those kind of solutions after the pandemic. So regarding the solutions, I think that the most important things will be the engagement and experience. No matter what we do, we should focus on the engagements of teachers and students, as well as the experience of the learner and of the teachers. So currently, we have so many providers that's providing so many solutions. However, both teacher and school managers, they are surrounded by overwhelming information. So many choices sometimes is not as good as uh, some limited choice, but they know which is the good one. So I think that the most important piece of information we should provide, it may be the kind of guideline about the overall picture of digital transformation in education. It may be the kind of a checklist and evaluation criteria. So the school and teachers, they will know that what they should do and how they should do it. In terms of how to develop the content, how to deliver the content, what kind of activities, why do they select and how do they implement those kinds of activities. So we might even list the pros and cons of each solution. So it will be easier for the teachers and the school managers. They can select and they can implement and they can evaluate it along the way. And I think that the ethics solution in overall, it should not be treated like the medicine. We should treat them, we should look at them like the vitamins. We take the extra vitamin because we want our body to be a healthy body. We do not take the vitamin like the medicines. We only take the medicine when we're ill. So it's not because of the pandemic, so we adopt so many ethics solutions. But after the pandemic, we say no to those solutions because the pandemic is no longer up here. So in that way, the ethics solution is being considered like the medicine. As a normal people, I believe that most of us, we do not want to have any kind of medicine on the daily basis, but the vitamin is very good. So if we want the school, the teachers, and the student, we select and we adopt those kind of solution, ethics solution in the long way with the most effective and efficiency. I think that we should focus on engagement and experience. And I think the most important part is how to increase the interactive learning experience of the student. Because if we still focus on delivering the content from teacher to student, it's not a student-centric approach. And if we aiming to have the student who will create their own future and be the master of their own future, I think we should shift the classroom into the way that our students have more autonomy. They will decide how to collaborate with each other student under the supervision of the teacher. So in brief, I think that engagement, more experience for the student, and focus more on interactive learning will be the perspective we should think when we develop and develop new solution for teacher and student, not only during the pandemic, but after the pandemic.
Thank you, Mr. I think student-centric is the real, we call value core. Not only this event, but how to really can implement student-centric learning environment, especially on online, is really challenging for us. Now many professors and teachers found problem to perform their classes online due to lack of training and knowledge. I think everybody talked a lot of this issue. All level of education institution need to establish online education infrastructure, resources, and training. So I have a question for Duke and Mr. Wang. How will be the future cooperation between Taiwan and Vietnam to affront this new challenge? So Mr. Wang, can you give us a new future between Taiwan and Vietnam, because you have been the pioneer investor there?
As I know, every country, they develop and finish many work by platform and by computer, by software. We can do everything. Student and the teacher online, we can do many things, as we said before. Everybody said. But as the chemical teacher, I think about the experiments. If we just can talk with each other and test and record every score, every question you answer in the crowd, then we analyze your ability. That we can do now. But we cannot, in the special period, COVID-19 period, we cannot teach students, or we cannot not ask students to experiment in their house. Or, for example, in my field, chemistry, we student in the day in the house, they cannot go. Whenever they cannot go to school, they stay at the house. They didn't have any equipment. They don't have chemicals in the house. So how can they do the experiments in house? And they don't have any safe. They cannot protect themselves. For example, acid and base titration. So maybe explosion, maybe anything can hurt them. They don't know how to do that. So now what I think is whenever anybody can build a very nice platform for communicate, then what I can do is try to do remote control experiments method for everybody. Now I do the research and development in Taiwan. If I can finish it, then in the whole Asia, I can help many students. They can do experiments in their house. For example, we have a central laboratory. The laboratory have many chemicals, many equipment, or maybe physical equipment. So student can buy then any method to remote the far end laboratory. So the process they can design, and according to their process, the remote according to their process, they can control the central laboratory to do what they want to do, and then they can get the result for them. That's what I think. Because now I think everybody can do all kind of things to communicate, but they don't have any way to for real experiments. That I think is very important. So I focus my research on this field. So in the future, maybe we can cooperate from Taiwan and Vietnam, and maybe in Taiwan I have a very big laboratory. I can support Taiwan local area. Maybe I also can support the Vietnam school, and the student can also do experiment even on COVID-19 period. That's what I think.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Wang. I think the scenario very attractive that Vietnamese students do chemistry lab from Vietnam, and the real chemistry lab actually happen in Taiwan, and they can got all the data from sensor. Is the really good practice. Hope can see you soon. So, Mr. Duke, could you give us about your suggestion about the future cooperation between Taiwan and Vietnam?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Wang, for your wonderful idea on the collaborating project, particularly focused on chemistry teachings. So first, I think that the webinar like the one we have today is quite interesting because it's very useful for educators in Vietnam and Taiwan, as well as the educational leaders, because we discuss a bit share the experience with our difficulties also. So by discussing, we have so many ideas toward the futures. In terms of future collaboration, I think that the first thing we should stay around is the culture, because Vietnam and Taiwan, we have similar culture, and it will be very helpful because it makes us closer than the other country. So the culture is very interesting perspective. We do not need to invest a lot of capabilities in this culture, but instantly we can have the connection between classroom in Vietnam and classroom in Taiwan, and we can share with each other. So during the pandemic, that kind of cultural exchange activities might somehow boost the students' mood regarding their learning a lot. in terms of educator and the people who working in education sector, I think that we can exchange a lot of ideas. We can exchange a lot of data, the data on student learning, data on the pilot project, and we can even I think that we can propose a kind of project that we can do the co-research and we can co-pilot a project, and even it can be the long-term project in 5 years or 10 years. I think it's very potential for those kind of collaborations in both terms of pedagogy, in both terms of psychological issue in regarding online teaching and learning or offline learning, as well as in terms of education management and the new education initiative in overall. I think there's a lot of chance, a lot of opportunity for us to do.
Thank you, Jake. I think Mr. Kang maybe has lots of opinion can contribute for between Taiwan and Vietnam, the future cooperation. So, Mr. Kang, can you give us some future? Yeah.
Cannot hear from Mr. Kang.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe.
Hello, Mr. Kang. We cannot hear you, Mr. Kang.
Wow.
Finally. So repeat.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I wanted to echo to Duke sharing firstly that I because you mentioned engagement. Yeah. Before we all pursued for a well-designed technology or system or environment. But right now, during this pandemic, the America, I think this concept, the new concept just came from ATT. A lot of speakers say, talking about how to survive or how to teaching online during this period, they like all of us to accept a new concept is the technology may or the environment may not be well designed always. So we need to tolerance the lack of voice or image online. Yeah, so just like even the ATD speech online cannot go through so smoothly, yeah, from time to time. So I think the teachers share us that we as adult learning, we have the motivation right now. The only choice for us is to use the online learning, so we should get used to it, and so we should learn some technology to use the online learning to avoid the impact of imperfection. So that's what they share with us. And talking about the cooperation between both of us, I think with the digital learning or digital education technology, we can share from time to time, and no matter the concept and the actions that you have done or we have done, and some technology you have your own experience, especially in Vietnam, and we have our own, and we can share frequently through like a triple I. Triple I can help those forum and frequent forum that we can share always the newest or latest technology or some concept between the countries. So I think it might be a good opportunity for us because I all of my friends and in the US have the same experience that I think through the online we can do more than we are face to face in a physical classroom. Yeah, because we can share more, we can talk more, and when we record it, we can watch the video again and again to learn the inside of the speech, although it's in different languages that we are not so much familiar with. So I think it's a good chance. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Kang. Mr. Min, I know you've been Taiwan several times and work with Taiwan e-learning company a lot. So can you give us your suggestion how developing the future cooperation between Taiwan and Vietnam?
I see that Vietnam can learn the experience from Taiwan. For example, I see in the question in the Facebook page, some of the audience ask whether or not the model for kindergartens or grade 1 level. So so I think if in Taiwan you have the good model just apply already to the kindergartens or the primary school, so Vietnam can learn. It's one example. And the second thing I think is in terms of the ICT, I see the software and hardware from Taiwan is very good because you are very proactive in terms of produce from from A to Z, from the hardware to software and to content. So combined together, I think the Taiwanese business can provide to Vietnamese market many good products and good and at very reasonable price. So in that way, I hope that the model and also the products also very good to apply into Vietnam. So that's a very good cooperation. Yeah.
Thank you. One question our audience would like to know: how about the impact for the Vietnam school spending? Can you give us some information? Now the budget in school is increased or decreasing?
Dick, can you say first and then up to you? Okay. Dick, turn on the microphone. You didn't turn on the microphone. Oh, okay. Can
Yes, yeah. Sorry, Mr. Tai, can you repeat the question? The connection is not so good.
The audience asked that the spending, it means that the budget in school is increasing or decreasing, especially for e-learning investment.
Let me answer first. I think in terms of the spending there are two types of spending. One is from the consumer, like the parents.
Yeah.
So in terms of the parents, you see that right now I can see many students from international school or the the private luxury school, they move to the public school or the school with a cheaper price, cheaper tuition fee, and they also cut the the English course from the center because of the money and also because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
So I think in some of the spending is decreased in terms of the investment into this sector. Okay, and I think because it's the trend, it's a how to say, the opportunity, it's a chance. So in some cases, I observe that they are right now in terms they seeing the chance, and they discuss the new round of the investment, but with the with a very careful view and careful discussion, and it takes times, and there are some chances for investment in this e-learning, but with a very careful view and eyes, from my point of view.
Yeah, thank you. So, Dick, how about your observation?
Yeah, I also agree with Mr. Ming that in overall the spending is being limited right now because people are cutting off the extracurricular activities, cutting off the English class, and they're also moving from the private school into the public school. But from the school management perspective, the spending in the total number of spending is also decreased, but actually the revenue is not increased because they have less tuition from parent and student, but they still have to maintain a particular amount to pay the salary and to pay for the renting fees. Especially for the private school in Vietnam, they do not own the land; they have to rent the land, and the fee of renting those real estate is very, very expensive. So why they have to get less tuition from the parent, but they still have to pay the same rent. So it's a very big difficult for the private sector in Vietnam, and it's also the main reason for the cooling down investment flow into the education sector in Vietnam, mostly in the normal way of education. But I also can see that recently we have some new. It's not really the startup, but it's backed by the big corporation in Vietnam, and some big corporations they are stepping their first step into the edtech industry. So we can see that the difficulties of the traditional model now is the opportunities for the new initiative in edtech.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And the last question, maybe I would like invite the Taiwan expert to answer. They want to know if no matter Mr. Wang or Mr. Kang, what your imagination about Vietnam education market, and if you want to enter this market, what kind of market you want to achieve? So maybe Mr. Kang, can you share your business vision for Vietnam market? Mr. Kang, the voice.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tai. Okay, I think the population of Vietnam is about 4 times than that of Taiwan. So it is a much big market than Taiwan, and I think we like to have a partner in Vietnam. I think to enter overseas market, we like to have a partner over there. So it is very important. A good partner will help both of us to go for success together. The second, I think we like the business will last longer, and create a profitable business model. In Taiwan, we have a different kind of business model. And we think to go to or to penetrate the private school is a good way for us in this time. And we have some teaching system. I mean, a private school of teaching kids for their logical thinking and for their creation through the mathematics. That will help them get a good score. I don't mean highest score, I mean good score of mathematics in the school, and they will get good, well educated for the future of their life. So we have this kind of franchise of private school that I think it will be a very good market of Yunnan. I think it's not only for us. Our clients, like one of the biggest consumer goods company, they have a very high building in Xinyi Jihuaqu. Yeah, it's a very big company. They have go to Vietnam, and they provide this kind of system. It's a franchise. I mean a chain store, and because I know they develop so well because their employee use our micro learning solutions. So right now they already got more than 3 times sales volume, I mean the revenue, than that of Taiwan. So I think it's a good developing opportunity that was us to pursuing of a good partner. So that's what my thinking now.
Yeah, so if I have a good partner from Vietnam, welcome to contact to Mr. Kang. So the last, we invite Mr. Wang to get up because I know you have 3-year experience events in Vietnam. So maybe for this panel, the last discussion about how we can work with our Vietnamese company or friend and do business in Vietnam education market.
Yeah. People always told me content is the king. I developed many science contents, but nobody can want to pay money to me. Just a joke, but in Taiwan, something like that. Even that, I also want to do my effort on science contents. I developed for K-12 the science contents from by use 3D animation and by AR and VR in Taiwan for 10 years. And I hope I can adjust what I do in Taiwan to suitable for Vietnam textbook. I can let my teachers engineering to go to Vietnam and to understand the Vietnam textbook. We can change some contents, and for Vietnam student, maybe we also can let the Vietnam student by my animation contents can know more about the science. So now the STEAM is very popular, and what I want to do is from kindergarten to combine the kindergarten and the K-12 to have steps by step to teach them how to involve how to study science, not only by textbook, but also by my world. My world is a virtual world. So any molecular, they can any small part, but neutron, proton, or atom or molecular, we can not see, but we can by animation to let people, let students know more. So first, I want to create more contents for Vietnam students. The second, as I know, online is not really touch what students need. So I want to combine online and offline in Vietnam. So now in Ho Chi Minh, the section 1, maybe my building is in Pinh Sen section. We have 3 buildings now in Ho Chi Minh, and we hope not only contents we can provide, we can also have a real science experiment and science laboratory in our crime school. Then combine the virtual and the real to let students understand more. But what I want to do whenever on this time, COVID-19 is very serious. So maybe this year, I just can observe. I just can prepare what I can start, what I want to do maybe next year. So now in Vietnam, we just finish our building, and we prepare everything we want to do by, for example, content, for example, experiment tours, and for example, what I said, remote controlled software. So whenever I prepare, finish everything, and maybe next year I can go to Vietnam to invest and for science education. That's what I want to do. I focus on science education for a long time, so I hope I can do same thing in Vietnam. So I hope that.
Thank you, Mr. Wang. Okay, time so limit, time fly. Thank you everyone for joining us today in our webinar of Smart City Education Insight series. It's an honor to have this panel of experts and you today with us. Please keep trace of every new webinar on our Facebook. There are many more amazing webinars await you. We'll see you in the next webinar. Goodbye. So thank you, our
Thank you,
audience.
everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, goodbye.
Goodbye.